In the remote desert of northeastern Utah lies a stretch of land that many people believe should not exist. A place where science struggles to explain what witnesses claim to have seen. A place where strange lights move silently across the sky. Where animals vanish without a trace. And where something unseen seems to watch from the darkness. This place is known as Skinwalker Ranch. At first glance, the ranch looks like any other piece of land in the American West. Wide open desert, endless sagebrush fields, and towering mesas rising like ancient walls against the horizon. The wind moves quietly through the valley, carrying dust across miles of empty land. It is peaceful, almost too peaceful. But for generations, the Native American tribes who lived near this valley warned others to stay away. According to Navajo legend, a skinwalker is a powerful and dangerous witch capable of transforming into animals. Wolves, coyotes, even human forms. These beings were believed to walk between worlds, appearing and disappearing at will. The Ute tribe, who lived closest to the land, believed this valley was part of an ancient path used by these entities. For decades, these stories remained nothing more than folklore. Strange tales told around fires, dismissed by outsiders as myth or superstition. But everything changed in 1994. That year, a ranching family named Terry and Gwen Sherman purchased a 512-acre cattle ranch in the Uinta Basin. They were searching for a quiet life, a place where they could raise their children and care for their livestock far away from the noise of cities. The property seemed perfect. The land was fertile, the pastures were large, and the isolation felt peaceful. But almost immediately after moving in, the Shermans noticed something strange. Every door and window of the farmhouse had heavy locks installed on both sides. Thick deadbolts, chains, and latches that looked unnecessary for an ordinary rural home. It was as if the previous owners had been trying to keep something out, or perhaps keep something in. At first, the family ignored these details. They believed the strange locks were simply added by cautious former residents. But within days of living on the ranch, the animals began behaving in ways that no one could explain. Cattle gathered together at night and refused to move. Horses stared into the darkness beyond the fields. Dogs barked violently at empty space, their eyes fixed on something no human could see. The Shermans believed predators might be nearby. Coyotes, wolves, maybe even mountain lions. But what they would encounter next would challenge everything they thought. They understood about the natural world, because one night, something emerged from the darkness of the ranch, and it was watching them. One cold evening in the winter of 1994, the Sherman family noticed their cattle behaving strangely. Near the edge of the property, the animals were restless, moving nervously around the fence line as if something was approaching from the darkness. Terry Sherman stepped outside to investigate, expecting to scare away a predator. At first, he saw nothing. Then something moved. From the shadows beyond the pasture, a massive animal slowly walked toward the cattle. At first glance, it looked like a wolf. But as the creature stepped closer into the dim porch light, Terry realized this was no ordinary animal. The wolf was enormous. Its body was far larger than any wolf native to North America. Its shoulders were thick and powerful, its fur dark and heavy, and its eyes reflected the light with an unnatural yellow glow. Instead of acting like a wild predator, the creature seemed calm, almost curious. Even stranger, it showed no fear of humans. The animal approached a young calf standing near the fence. It grabbed the calf gently by the snout and began pulling it away as if the people nearby meant nothing to it. Terry raised his rifle and fired at close range. The bullet struck the creature directly in the chest, but the wolf did not react. There was no sound of pain, no sudden movement, no sign that the shot had affected it at all. Confused and frightened, Terry fired again, and again. Each bullet appeared to hit its target, yet the creature simply stood there, looking back at him with calm, unblinking eyes. Then slowly, as if nothing had happened, it released the calf and walked back into the darkness. The animal disappeared into the night. When Terry searched the area, he expected to find blood, tracks, or at least some sign that the animal had been wounded. But there was nothing. No blood, no footprints, No evidence at all. It was as if the creature had never existed. But that encounter was only the beginning. Over the following weeks, the Sherman family began discovering their cattle dead in the fields under disturbing circumstances. The animals appeared to have been cut with surgical precision. Organs were missing, yet there was almost no blood anywhere around the bodies. Even more unsettling, scavengers refused to approach the remains. Then came the lights. Strange glowing blue spheres began appearing over the ranch at night. Witnesses described them as floating silently above the fields, sometimes moving slowly through the air as if observing the land below. One night, the family's dogs chased one of these glowing orbs into the nearby trees. The dogs ran barking into the darkness. Seconds later, everything went silent. The next morning, the Shermans discovered something in the forest that would convince them the ranch was hiding something far more terrifying than a giant wolf. By 1996, the strange events at the ranch had become impossible for the Sherman family to ignore. The unexplained animals, the mutilated cattle, and the mysterious lights appearing over the property had created constant fear. Eventually, the family made a decision. They would leave the ranch behind. But the story of the ranch did not end there. News about the strange incidents slowly spread beyond the valley. Paranormal researchers, journalists, and investigators began hearing rumors about a place in Utah where unexplainable events seemed to happen again and again. One of the people who became interested in the ranch was Robert Bigelow, a wealthy aerospace entrepreneur who had long been fascinated by unexplained phenomena. Unlike many paranormal enthusiasts, Bigelow believed these mysteries could be studied using scientific methods. In 1996, he purchased the ranch and created a research organization known as the National Institute for Discovery Science, often called NIDS. Bigelow's goal was simple. If something unusual was truly happening at the ranch, he wanted to document it with scientific equipment and trained observers. Soon, the quiet cattle ranch transformed into one of the most unusual research sites in the world. Scientists installed surveillance cameras across the property. Motion sensors were placed in the fields. Radar systems monitored the skies above the valley. Radiation detectors and electromagnetic sensors scanned the environment day and night. The researchers hoped that with enough data, they could finally capture proof of what was happening there. But the ranch seemed to resist observation. Investigators soon noticed a strange pattern. Whenever unusual activity was reported, the equipment would often fail. Cameras suddenly stopped recording. Batteries drained without explanation. Digital files disappeared or became corrupted. Some researchers began calling this the trickster effect. It was as if whatever phenomenon existed on the ranch somehow knew it was being watched. Even more disturbing were the things some scientists claimed to witness with their own eyes. On several occasions, researchers reported seeing strange distortions in the sky above the ranch, small openings or windows appearing briefly in the air. Through these openings, some witnesses claimed they could see darkness that looked deeper than the night sky. In one report, a scientist claimed to have seen a large, shadowy figure crawl out of one of these distortions before disappearing into the desert. But perhaps the strangest discovery came from the electromagnetic monitoring systems. At random moments, powerful bursts of radio energy appeared across the ranch at a frequency of 1.6 gigahertz. The signal would appear suddenly, remain for only a short time, and then vanish without a trace. No known transmitter could be identified as the source. Years passed, and the strange reputation of the ranch continued to grow. Stories about unexplained creatures, strange lights, and mysterious signals had already turned Skinwalker Ranch into one of the most talked about paranormal locations in the world. But the investigation was far from over. In 2016, the property was purchased again, this time by real estate entrepreneur Brandon Fugel. Unlike previous owners, Fugel decided that the mystery of the ranch should no longer remain hidden from the public. Instead of keeping the research secret, he brought in a new team of scientists and began using modern technology to study the phenomenon. The ranch quickly became a testing ground for some of the most advanced, investigative tools available. Drones were used to map the entire landscape from the sky. Ground penetrating. Radar scanned deep beneath the soil searching for unusual structures. High-frequency antennas monitored radio signals across the valley. Every movement in the air and on the ground was carefully recorded. And once again, the ranch responded with strange results. Researchers repeatedly detected bursts of radio, energy appearing at exactly 1.6 gigahertz. The signal seemed to come from somewhere above the ranch, but no satellite, aircraft, or communication tower could explain its source. Whenever the signal appeared, other strange events were sometimes reported at the same time. Even more mysterious was what scientists discovered beneath the massive rock formation known as the Mesa. Using radar technology, researchers detected what appeared to be a large metallic object buried deep underground. The shape reflected signals in ways that natural rock formations normally do not. No one knows what the object might be or how long it has been there. Meanwhile, eyewitness reports have never completely stopped. Strange lights still appear in the sky above the ranch, unidentified. Aerial objects have been seen moving silently across the valley at incredible speeds. Some visitors have even reported shadowy figures standing at the edge of the property before disappearing into the darkness. More than 30 years after the first stories began, Skinwalker Ranch remains one of the most heavily studied paranormal locations on Earth. Millions of dollars have been spent trying to understand what is happening there, and yet the mystery remains unsolved. Is Skinwalker Ranch a gateway to another dimension? A secret military testing ground hidden deep in the desert? Or something far older? Something that has existed on that land long before humans arrived? For now, the ranch keeps its secrets, silent in the Utah desert, waiting beneath the endless sky, and perhaps watching anyone who dares to come too close.